Construction worker rescues boy trapped in well at building site without knowing he was a millionaire's son. Frank Miller wiped the sweat from his brow when he heard screams coming from the bottom of the well he had just dug. Without thinking, twice he climbed down the slippery walls and found a boy crying in the dark. The child was trembling so much he could barely speak. Frank Miller hugged him carefully, trying to calm him while assessing the situation. The well was about 4 meters deep, and the walls were damp from the previous night's rain. "It's okay, son, you're safe now. What's your name?" he asked softly. Ethan," the boy stammered between sobs. "I was playing and fell. My dad's gonna be mad at me." Frank Miller noticed the boy's fine clothes but didn't think much of it. To him, a child was a child, rich or poor. "Your dad will just be happy to see you safe. Now hold on tight. I'll get you out of here." The climb back up was tough. Frank Miller had to use all his experience as a construction worker to find footholds in the loose rocks. The boy clung to him tightly, his little face buried in his shoulder. Every move was calculated, every step tested before putting his full weight on it. When they finally reached the surface, Frank Miller set the boy down and checked his injuries. Just a few scratches, nothing serious. He pulled a water bottle from his bag and handed it to the boy, who drank eagerly. "Where are your parents?" he asked, looking around the deserted construction site. It was Saturday, and he was the only one who'd come in to get ahead on work. "I don't know. I ran away from Nancy. She's so annoying, never lets me do anything," Ethan admitted, now calmer. Frank Miller smiled. It reminded him of his own son, Mikey, who was always sneaking off to play. The memory brought a sharp pang to his chest, but he pushed it away. "Nancy must be your nanny, huh? She's probably worried. Should we call your parents?" Ethan shook his head. "I don't know the number, and my dad's gonna ground me." Frank Miller sighed. He couldn't just leave the boy there alone. "Then we'll wait a bit. I'm sure someone will come looking for you soon." They sat in the shade of a stack of bricks. Frank Miller offered a piece of the simple cake Sarah had packed for his lunch. Ethan ate hungrily, his cheeks smeared with crumbs. "Do you work here every day?" the boy asked, eyeing the worker's calloused hands. "Every day, Monday through Saturday. Sometimes Sunday, too, when I need extra money." "Why, working that much must be boring." Frank Miller chuckled. "Work isn't boring when you do it with love, and I've got to take care of my family." "Do you have kids?" The question caught Frank Miller off guard. He hesitated before answering. "I had a son. He was about your age." Ethan noticed the sadness in the man's eyes, and, with the innocence of a child, took his hand. "He must have been really happy to have a dad like you." Frank Miller's eyes welled up with tears he quickly brushed away. He hadn't talked about Mikey with anyone but Sarah in 3 years. Suddenly, the sound of approaching cars broke the moment. 3 luxury vehicles screeched to a stop at the site's entrance, tires skidding on gravel. Men in suits rushed out, some speaking into walkie-talkies. "Ethan!" a woman shouted, running toward them. It was Nancy, the housekeeper, her face etched with panic. The boy ducked behind Frank Miller. "She's gonna ground me. Don't worry," the worker whispered. "I'll talk to her." But before he could say anything, a tall, imposing man stepped out of one of the cars. His suit probably cost more than Frank Miller made in a year. His face was red with anger. "Ethan! What the hell are you doing here?" boomed William Thompson, storming toward them. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Frank Miller stood up, positioning himself protectively in front of the boy. "Excuse me, sir, the boy fell into the well. I pulled him out." "He's okay, just a few scratches." William stopped abruptly, his eyes scanning the construction worker from head to toe. The muddy uniform, the worn-out boots, the rough hands. His nose wrinkled in disdain. "You pulled him out? From the well? You left open and unprotected." William's voice was dangerously low. "Sir, the well was marked, and today's Saturday, the site's closed." "I don't care," William cut him off. "You endangered my son with your negligence." "Nancy, take Ethan, we're leaving." "Dad, no." Ethan stepped out from behind Frank. "He saved me. I was the one who ran away and came here alone." "Quiet, Ethan. You're grounded. No video games for a month." William grabbed his son's arm. "And you?" He pointed at Frank. "You're fired. Don't bother showing up Monday." "But sir, I didn't do anything wrong. I saved your son." "Saved him?" William laughed humorlessly. "You created the danger in the first place. Be glad I'm not calling the authorities. Get out of my sight." Frank felt the world spin. That job was his only source of income. Sarah needed expensive medication for her treatment. The rent was overdue. How would he explain this to her? "Please, Mr. Thompson, I need this job. I have a family." Should have thought of that before being careless. "Security, remove this man." Two men approached Frank. Ethan started crying, trying to break free from his father. "No, Dad, please, he's a good guy." "Ethan, enough. Nancy, take him to the car now." The housekeeper picked up the sobbing boy. As he was carried away, Ethan shouted, "I'm sorry, mister." "I'm sorry." Frank silently gathered his tools, his heart heavy. The security guards escorted him to the gate. Outside, he took one last look at the construction site where he'd worked for the past 6 months. All his sweat, all his effort, gone. Over a misunderstanding. The walk home felt longer than usual. His backpack weighed on his shoulders, but not as much as the news he'd have to break to Sarah. She was lying down when he arrived, her pale face contrasting with her dark hair, spread across the pillow. "You're home early today, love," she said with a weak smile. Frank sat on the edge of the bed, stroking his wife's face. How could he tell her he'd lost his job? How could he explain there'd be no money for her medication at the end of the month? What's wrong? Sarah knew every expression on her husband's face after 20 years of marriage. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just tired. How are you feeling?" "Better. I took my medicine on time. Mrs. Jenkins visited today, brought some delicious soup." Frank smiled. The neighbors always helped however they could. The Hope Gardens community was tight-knit. Everyone knew and supported each other. "That's good. I'll take a shower and make dinner." In the shower, he let his tears mix with the water. Ever since Mikey passed, he'd promised to stay strong for Sarah. She'd already suffered enough. But now, without a job, how could he keep that promise? On Sunday, Frank woke up early as usual. Years of habit didn't disappear overnight. He made coffee and sat in the small backyard, watching the street. Kids played, women chatted on the sidewalks, men argued about soccer. "Frank," his buddy Tony called from the gate, "not going to the site today." "Come in, Tony. Want some coffee?" The two had been friends since childhood. Tony was also a construction worker. They worked together whenever possible. "What's wrong, buddy? You look..." Frank told him the whole story. Tony listened silently, shaking his head. "These rich folks are all the same. They think we're nobody. But don't worry, we'll figure something out. I've got a cousin who needs a construction worker at a site in Riverside." "Thank you, my friend. I'll go talk to him on Monday." But on Monday, Tony's cousin said the position had already been filled. On Tuesday, Frank Miller tried at 3 different construction sites. At each one, as soon as he gave his name, they said there were no openings. On Wednesday, he found out why. He ran into Sam, the foreman from the Thompson construction site, at the corner bar. "Frank Miller, I'm really sorry about what happened," Sam said, visibly uncomfortable. "It's not your fault, Sam, but I need work. Do you know of any openings?" Sam lowered his voice. "Look, I'll be honest with you. Thompson told everyone you're negligent, that you put his son in danger. No one's going to hire you." Frank felt the ground vanish beneath his feet. "But that's a lie. I saved the boy." I know. But who's going to believe a construction worker over one of the most powerful men in town?" The situation at home grew worse by the day. Frank sold his tools one by one to buy food and medicine. Sarah could see her husband's anguish, but he always brushed it off. One afternoon, while Sarah slept, Frank walked through downtown looking for work when he heard someone calling. Uncle Frank!" It couldn't be. But when he turned, there was Ethan, waving frantically from inside a car stopped at the traffic light. Beside him, Nancy tried to get the boy to sit down. The light changed and the car drove off, but Frank saw Ethan's little face pressed against the rear window, still waving. The next day, he was sitting in the central square when he felt someone approach. It was Nancy, the housekeeper, glancing around nervously. "Mr. Frank Miller?" "Yes, ma'am." "Please, I need to speak with you. It's about Ethan." Nancy sat on the bench, smoothing her skirt. "The boy hasn't been well since that day. He has nightmares, wakes up screaming, he won't eat properly. All he talks about is you. I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. His father forbade me from going near him. I know, but... Nancy hesitated. Could you at least write him a note? Something I can read to him when he has nightmares. Frank thought of Sarah, of how it would feel if someone denied comfort to a suffering child. Of course. Do you have paper and a pen? With the careful handwriting he'd learned in night school, he wrote, Ethan, my friend, you're a very brave boy. Don't be afraid of the dark or the nightmares. Remember, those who have the courage to explore also have the courage to face their fears. Sleep well. Your friend, Frank Miller. Nancy tucked the paper away carefully. Thank you. You don't know how much this will help. Miss Nancy, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did the boy run off that day? Nancy sighed. Ethan is very lonely. His father works all the time, his mother travels often. He's left with me and the other staff. That day he heard his father talking about the new construction site and wanted to see it. Said he wanted to learn how a house is built. Frank understood. Ethan was searching for something real, something solid, in a life full of absences. Take good care of him, Miss Nancy. I always do. And I'm sorry about what happened with your job. Mr. Williams, sometimes he doesn't see people, only problems. After Nancy left, Frank kept thinking, a man who doesn't see people, only problems. How many were like that? How many went through life without truly seeing others? That night, Sarah took a turn for the worse. Her fever spiked suddenly and she began to hallucinate. Desperate, Frank called on the neighbors. Mrs. Jenkins sent her son, who had a car, and they rushed Sarah to the emergency room. She needs to be admitted, the doctor said. The infection has spread. She needs stronger antibiotics. How much will it cost, doctor? The amount was astronomical, more than Frank Miller earned in 3 months when he had a job. But what about public health care, doctor? Isn't there a way to get it covered? The waiting list is 6 months. Your wife doesn't have that kind of time. Frank left the hospital devastated. How could he get that much money? He'd already sold nearly everything of value they owned. The next day, while Sarah was sedated, he wandered the streets when he saw Ethan again. This time the boy was in the park with Nancy, playing on the playground. No bodyguards in sight. Ethan spotted him and came running. Uncle Frank! Uncle Frank! Nancy tried to hold him back, but the boy was faster. He wrapped his arms tightly, around Frank's legs. Hey champ, how are you? Better now. Nancy read your note to me every day. I haven't had any more nightmares. Nancy approached, looking embarrassed. I'm sorry, Mr. Frank. He insisted on coming to the park today. It's okay. I'm glad the note helped. Ethan tugged Frank's hand. Come play with me. Nancy doesn't know how to fly a kite. Ethan! Uncle Frank might be busy, but Nancy started. I'm not, but I don't have a kite with me. We can buy one. Ethan pulled a crumpled wad of bills from his pocket. I saved all my allowance. Frank looked at the money. It was more than he had at home at that moment, but he'd never take money from a child. Keep your money, Ethan. I'll teach you how to make one. It's way more fun. The boy's eyes lit up. Really? You know how? Of course. I learned from my dad when I was your age. They went to a nearby diner, and Frank borrowed some. Materials from the owner: tissue paper, bamboo sticks, string, and glue. The owner, Jack, had known Frank for years and didn't hesitate to help. Sitting on the grass in the park, Frank showed Ethan how to build the frame. The boy paid attention to every detail, his tongue sticking out in concentration. My dad never does anything with me, Ethan suddenly said. He just works and argues. Your dad must be busy with his business. He has time for everyone except me and Mom. That's why she travels so much. Frank felt sorry for the boy, rich in money, poor in love. Done, Ethan exclaimed when they finished. Now can we fly it? Of course, but first, what are we going to name it? Name? Kites have names? Every special kite does. My first one was called Gale. Ethan thought for a moment. Hope. We'll call it Hope. The name struck Frank deeply. Hope was exactly what he needed, right now. They spent the afternoon flying the kite. Ethan ran around the park laughing like Frank had never seen before. Nancy watched from a distance, smiling. As the sun began to set, Nancy walked over. "Ethan, we have to go. Your dad's coming home early today." "Oh no, I want to stay longer. We can come back another day," Nancy said, giving Frank a questioning look. "Whenever you want, I'm usually around," he replied, knowing he had nowhere else to go during the day. Ethan carefully packed up the kite. "Uncle Frank, can I tell you a secret?" "Sure. I wish you were my dad. My real dad doesn't like me." "Ethan," Nancy scolded. "It's true. He only cares about money." Frank crouched in front of the boy. "Your dad loves you, Ethan. Sometimes grown-ups have a hard time showing it, but I'm sure he loves you more than anything." "You really think so?" "I know so." "Want to know how?" "Because when you fell in that well, he was terrified. Only someone who loves you feels that way." Ethan seemed to think about that. Then he pulled out the wad of cash again. "Uncle, take this, please." "Ethan, we already talked about this, but you need it. I saw you selling your stuff. Nancy told me you lost your job. Because of me." Nancy turned red. "Ethan, I shouldn't have." "It wasn't your fault, champ. It was just a misunderstanding." "Then let me help. This money means nothing to me. My dad gives me way more, and I never spend it on anything." Frank Miller felt his eyes burn. The boy's generosity was heartbreaking. "Ethan, the greatest gift you could give me is your friendship. That's worth more than any money." "But, no buts. Now go with Nancy and take good care of Hope." Ethan hugged Frank tightly before leaving. "You're the best uncle in the world." When he was alone, Frank let himself cry. He cried for Sarah, sick in the hospital, for Mikey, who was no longer there, for life's unfairness. But he also cried with gratitude for having met Ethan, who had brought a little light into his darkness. At the hospital, Sarah was awake when he arrived. "Where were you, love? I was worried." "Just went for a walk. How are you feeling?" "Better. The nurse said I can go home tomorrow." Frank held her hand. "Sarah, I need to tell you something." And he told her everything about losing his job, the struggle to find another, the bills piling up. Sarah listened in silence, tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't want to worry you." "Frank, we're a team. In good times and bad, remember." "I know, I'm sorry. We'll figure it out, we always do. The doctor said you need expensive treatment. Then we'll get the money. God won't abandon us." That night, Frank slept on the couch in the hospital room. He dreamed of Mikey and Ethan playing together, flying kites under an endless blue sky. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The next morning, a nurse woke him. "Mr. Miller, there's someone asking for you downstairs." Puzzled, he went down and found Nancy in the lobby. She looked like she'd been crying. "Mrs. Nancy, what's wrong? Is it Ethan?" "Not exactly, Mr. Miller. I need to confess something. I lied to Ethan. I told him about your situation because he needed to understand that actions have consequences. But I never thought he'd take it so hard. I don't understand." Last night, Ethan confronted his father. I've never seen him like that. He screamed, cried, said terrible things, called his father evil, said he'd ruined the life of the only good man he'd ever known. Frank was speechless. Mr. Thompson was furious. He punished Ethan, took away all his toys, grounded him. But Ethan wouldn't stop. He said he'd run away, that he'd rather live on the streets with you than in a palace with his father. Oh my God! There's more. Mrs. Thompson came back from her trip this morning. When she heard everything, she was furious with her husband. They had a terrible fight. She threatened to leave and take Ethan with her. "Mrs. Nancy, I'm so sorry for causing trouble in your family." "You didn't cause anything. The problem was always there. You just made them see it." "Mrs. Thompson wants to meet you." "What? No, I can't. Mr. Thompson would..." "Please. For Ethan. He hasn't eaten since yesterday. He just cries and asks for you." Frank thought of Sarah upstairs, needing treatment. He thought of Ethan suffering because of him. He thought of everything that had happened these past few days. "All right, but I need to tell my wife first." He went up and quickly explained the situation to Sarah. She squeezed his hand. "Go, love. Follow your heart." Nancy had a car waiting. As they drove, Frank watched the city gradually change. Simple houses gave way to buildings, then to mansions. Two worlds in one city. The Thompsons' home was even grander than Frank had imagined. Nancy led him through hallways that seemed endless until they reached a living room. An elegant woman stood waiting by the window. Jennifer Thompson's face showed signs of exhaustion, but her eyes remained kind. "Mr. Frank Miller, thank you for coming." "Mom, please have a seat. Nancy told me everything about the rescue, about my husband's injustice, about your situation." Frank Miller stayed silent. "She also told me about the afternoons in the square, about the kite, about how you treated my son with such care when everyone else only sees him as the Thompson heir. Ethan is a good boy, ma'am. He just needs attention." "I know, and I've failed him. I travel too much. I escape my marriage problems by burying myself in work. But seeing my son wasting away of that woke me up. With all due respect, ma'am, why did you call me here? Because I need your help. Ethan refuses to eat, refuses to leave his room. He only asks for you. My husband forbade it, but I'm a mother before I'm a wife. Will you go upstairs and talk to him?" "What about Mr. William?" "He's away on business. He won't be back until tomorrow." Frank Miller thought for a moment. "I'll see the boy." Ethan's room was bigger than Frank Miller's entire house, but the boy was curled up in a corner of the enormous bed, clutching the hope kite. "Ethan?" The boy lifted his head, his eyes swollen from crying. "Uncle Frank, you came." Ethan jumped off the bed and ran to hug him. Frank held him, feeling the little body tremble. "I did, champ, but I heard you haven't been eating." "I'm not hungry. I keep thinking you're going hungry because of me." "Ethan, look at me." Frank cupped the boy's face. "None of what happened is your fault. You're just a kid. Adults are the ones who complicate things." "But my dad." "Your dad made a mistake." "But everyone makes mistakes, Ethan. What matters? Says learning from them." "He'll never learn. He's mean." "No, he's not mean. He just forgot how to be human, worked so hard for money that he forgot money isn't everything." Ethan hugged the kite tighter. "Uncle, can I go with you?" "I promise I won't be any trouble. I eat little, I'll help around the house." Frank's heart ached. "Ethan, your place is here, with your parents, but I promise I'll always be your friend." "Really? I promise." "Now, let's make a deal. You eat properly and I'll come back to visit. How's that?" "My dad won't let you." "Let the adults handle that. Now come on, let's get you a snack." They went downstairs together. Jennifer waited anxiously in the living room. When she saw Ethan holding Frank's hand, her eyes filled with tears. "Mom, Uncle Frank said he'll always be my friend." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Now how about something to eat?" While Ethan ate in the kitchen with Nancy, Jennifer pulled Frank aside. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." "No need to thank me, Mom. I did it from the heart." "Nancy told me about your wife, about the treatment she needs." Frank lowered his head. "We'll figure it out. Let me help, please. It's the least I can do." "Ma'am, with all due respect, I can't accept." "Why not?" "Because I don't want Ethan to think our friendship has a price. I'd rather stay poor but keep my honor." Jennifer studied him for a long moment. "You're a rare man, Frank Miller. Ethan is lucky to have met someone like you." "I'm the lucky one. Ethan reminded me there's still goodness in the world." As Frank was leaving, Ethan came running with a piece of paper. "Uncle, I drew this for you." It was a simple drawing, 2 stick figures flying a kite. Below, in shaky letters, it read, "Me and my best friend." Frank carefully tucked the drawing away. It was worth more than any payment. Back at the hospital, he found Sarah talking with Mrs. Jenkins. "Frank, how did it go?" He told them everything in detail. The 2 women listened intently. "That boy was an angel in your life," Mrs. Jenkins said. "He was. Made me remember what's important." That night, Frank went to Jack's bar. A few friends were there, drinking and playing dominoes. "Frank, come here, boy," called Bobby, an electrician. "Heard you're looking for work." "Sure am, Bobby. Know of anything?" My brother-in-law's building a house in Milltown, needs a good mason, but the pay's low. Anything helps. Can you talk to him? Of course. Monday morning. Be there. A glimmer of hope appeared. It wasn't much, but it was something. The following Saturday, Frank Miller was in the square when he saw Nancy's car approaching. Ethan ran out carrying a backpack. Uncle Frank, I brought stuff for us to make more kites. Hey now, let's make the prettiest one yet. They spent the afternoon crafting. Ethan seemed different, happier. He said his mum was spending more time at home, even playing with him. And Dad's acting weird. He doesn't yell anymore, just stays quiet, thinking. Nancy, sitting on a nearby bench, added, Mr. William's been reflective since the argument. With his wife, yesterday he came home early from work. Frank didn't comment but grew thoughtful. Sometimes a good shake-up was needed to wake people up. As they packed up the kites, Ethan pulled an envelope from his backpack. Uncle, Mom asked me to give this to you. Ethan, I told you I don't... It's not money, she said it's important. Frank opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Mr. Frank Miller, I know you won't accept financial help, and I respect that. But please allow me to repay you by offering honest work. I run a foundation that helps underprivileged children. We need someone for small repairs and maintenance. The pay is modest, but it's dignified work. If you accept, you can start whenever you'd like. With gratitude, Jennifer Thompson. Frank reread the letter several times. A job. Honest. Dignified. What's wrong, Uncle? Why are you crying? These aren't sad tears, Ethan. They're happy ones. So you'll take it. Mum said you'd be working near kids. I'll think it over carefully. That night, he showed the letter to Sarah. She smiled for the first time in days. It's first sign, Frank. God works in mysterious ways. But what about William when he finds out the foundation is hers, not his? Take it, love. At least until something better comes. On Monday, Frank went to the address in the letter. The Hope Foundation was housed in a repurposed old building downtown. Children played in the courtyard. Jennifer greeted him personally. So glad you came. Let me show you around. The foundation served about 50 at-risk children, offering tutoring, meals, and cultural activities. We started 5 years ago. It's my personal project. William thinks it's a waste of time, but I believe we can make a difference. It's beautiful work, ma'am. Please call me Jennifer. Here, we're all equal. Frank started that same day. The work varied. Fixing a faucet, painting a wall, assembling shelves. The kids quickly took to him. Uncle, can you fix my bike? Uncle, will you make us a kite? It felt like stepping back in time to when Mikey was alive. The pain was still there, but now it shared space with new smiles. One afternoon, as he repaired the playground swing, a familiar voice spoke. Knew I'd find you here. William Thompson stood at the gate, watching. Frank braced for confrontation, but the man looked different. Mr. Thompson, my wife told me about the job. I came to see for myself. If you want me to leave, no, I came to apologize. Frank nearly dropped his hammer. What? William stepped closer, hands in his pockets. Without his pristine suit, dressed in jeans and a simple shirt, he seemed more human. I was wrong with you. Let my pride take over. You saved my son, and I acted like a fool. Sir, please let me finish. Ethan hates me. And he's right. Jennifer barely speaks to me, also right. I've spent the last few days thinking about how I got to this point, how I became someone my own son is afraid of. Frank Miller remained silent, letting the man speak. You know what hurts the most? Ethan said he wished you were his father. A construction worker he met just weeks ago means more to him than me, who's been there since he was born. Or rather, who should have been there. He didn't mean that. Kids say things without thinking. No, he meant it, and he's right. In just a few hours, you were more of a father to him than I've been in 8 years. William Thompson sat on a nearby bench, his head in his hands. I lost my way. I thought providing material comfort was love. That working 16 hours a day was taking care of my family. And in the end, I have money but no family. Frank sat beside him. There's still time to change. You think so? There's always time as long as there's life. Ethan loves you. He just wants your attention. How do you do it? How can you be like this even after everything I've done? Frank thought before answering. I lost a son 3 years ago. An accident. He was Ethan's age. For a long time, I thought I'd die from the pain. But Sarah taught me that we honor those who've passed by living, not by dying with them. I'm so sorry. When I saw Ethan at the bottom of that well, for a moment, it felt like I had a chance to save my own son. I couldn't save Mikey, but I could save Ethan, and that healed me a little. The two men sat in silence, watching the children play. I want to hire you back, William said suddenly. Thank you, but I'm fine here. I'll pay triple. It's not about money. Here I make a difference. These kids need me. William smiled sadly. You really are different. Ethan has good taste in friends. Why don't you spend more time with him? That's all he wants. I don't know how. I don't know how to play, how to talk to a child. My father was absent too. I thought I was doing things differently, but I just repeated the pattern. Start slow. Ethan loves kites, he loves drawing, he loves hearing stories. Just be present. The rest will come naturally. William stood up. Thank you for everything. And I'm sorry for what I did. If you ever need anything, actually there is one thing. What? Hire back the other workers who depended on that job. They're not to blame for our disagreement. William extended his hand. Done. They can come back Monday. The two shook hands, a firm grip full of mutual respect. After William left, Frank returned to work. The children gathered around him, curious. Who was that man, Uncle? A friend who was lost but just found his way. The following weeks brought big changes. Sarah started treatment with the medicine they could now afford. Her recovery was slow but steady. Ethan kept visiting on Saturday afternoons, always with Nancy. But now sometimes William came too. At first he was awkward, unsure how to act. But little by little he learned. Dad, look, Uncle Frank taught me how to make a paper boat. Cool, son, can I try making one too? It was strange seeing the powerful businessman sitting on the grass, struggling with a piece of paper. But Ethan was beaming. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now, back to the story. One day, Jennifer Thompson pulled Frank aside. Frank, I need a special favor. It's about William. What's wrong? He's changing, you see it, but he still struggles. Last night, Ethan asked him for a bedtime story and he froze. He didn't know any. He was so embarrassed he left the room. It's hard to break lifelong habits. I know, that's why I thought maybe you could teach him how to connect with Ethan. I know it's a lot to ask, Frank Miller reflected. Teaching a father how to be a father. It was ironic, considering he himself carried the pain of no longer being able to fulfill that role. I'll think about it, Jennifer. It's a delicate situation. I understand, but you're the only person William respects enough to listen to. That night, he talked to Sarah about the request. I think you should help, she said, lying in bed but with bright eyes. Why? Because it's what Mikey would have wanted. Remember how he always helped his little friends? He got that from you. Frank held his wife's hand. Sometimes I think, you're too wise for me. Silly, I just see the wonderful man you are. Now go teach that first-time dad. The following Saturday, Frank suggested a different activity. How about we build a little wooden playhouse for the Foundation's garden? Ethan jumped with joy. Really? A real playhouse? Yes, but we'll need help. William, you in? William looked surprised. Me? But I don't know anything about construction. You don't have to, just follow instructions and have fun. They spent the day working together. Frank guided, Ethan helped as best he could, and William discovered muscles he didn't know he had. This is harder than closing $1 million deal, he remarked, sweating. But more rewarding, Frank replied. At the end of the day, you see the result of your work. Ethan was amazed watching his father hammer, saw, and build. Dad, you're really doing it. I'm trying, son. Uncle Frank is a good teacher. When the playhouse was finished, simple but sturdy, the three admired it with pride. We did this, Ethan said, awestruck. We did, William agreed, hugging his son. It was the first time Frank had ever seen them embrace like that. The kids at the foundation loved the playhouse. It quickly became their favorite spot for games and stories. One afternoon, Frank was painting the fence when he overheard two volunteers talking. "Did you hear? Jennifer's husband donated a fortune to the foundation." "Really? I thought he didn't like this place." "Seems he changed his mind. Jennifer is overjoyed." Frank smiled. The changes were real, but life, as always, had surprises in store. On a rainy morning, Frank arrived at the foundation to find chaos. Jennifer was in tears, Nancy trying to comfort her. "What happened?" "It's Ethan," Jennifer sobbed. "He's gone missing." Frank's blood ran cold. "Gone missing? How?" Nancy explained. "Last night he went to bed like normal. This morning, his bed was empty. He left a note saying he was looking for something important." "Did you call the authorities?" "William's handling that, but no one's seen anything. It's like he vanished." Frank thought quickly. Ethan wasn't one for drama. If he left, he had a reason. "What happened yesterday? Anything unusual?" Jennifer thought. "Nothing major. We had dinner together. William told a story." "Wait, Ethan asked about the accident." "What accident?" "The one that killed William's father." Ethan never met him, but yesterday he asked where he was buried. A feeling of dread washed over Frank. "Where's the cemetery?" "In Hillcrest. But he wouldn't go there alone." "Would... Hey?" Frank was already heading out. "Nancy, come with me. Jennifer, stay here in case he comes back." On the way, Nancy was nervous. "You really think he went to the cemetery?" "Ethan's a special kid. If he decided it was important, he went. But how? It's so far." "Determined kids find a way." At the cemetery, the guard confirmed he'd seen a boy alone that morning. "Thought it was odd, but he said his dad was coming. Even showed me the grave he wanted to visit." They ran between the headstones until they found Ethan. He was sitting in front of a simple grave, whispering quietly. "Ethan!" The boy turned, his face streaked with tears but calm. "Hi, Uncle Frank." "Hi, Nancy." Nancy hugged him tightly. "Oh, sweetheart, you scared me. Why did you run away?" "I didn't run away. I just came to meet my grandpa. Dad said he was a construction worker, like Uncle Frank. I wanted to ask him to help Dad be happier." Frank Miller knelt beside him. "And did you ask?" "I did. And you know what? I think he heard me. Because look what I found." Ethan showed a small paper kite, the kind sold at street stands, caught on a nearby branch. "It's a sign, right? Grandpa loved kites too." Frank and Nancy exchanged glances. It didn't matter if it was a coincidence. To Ethan, it was real. "Let's go back now, okay? Your parents are worried." "Are they going to be mad at me?" "Not if you tell the truth. Always the truth, remember?" On the way back, Ethan held Frank's hand. "Uncle, thank you." "For what?" "For teaching me that family is more than blood. It's love." When they arrived at the foundation, William and Jennifer rushed to hug their son. There were no scoldings, just relief. Ethan told them everything. William was especially moved when he learned the reason for the visit. "You went to talk to my father?" "Yes, I asked him to help you." "Be happy, because a happy son makes a happy dad, right?" William hugged Ethan tightly. "I'm already happy, son, I have you." Frank stepped back quietly, letting the family have their moment. But William called out to him, "Frank, wait. There's something I need to say in front of everyone." The small crowd of staff and volunteers gathered. "This man," William pointed to Frank, "saved my family. Not once, but many times. He rescued my son from the well. He saved my marriage by showing me my mistakes. And he saved my soul by teaching me how to be a father. No amount of money in the world could repay that." Frank looked embarrassed. "I didn't do anything special." "Yes, you did. And I want everyone to know. Starting today, the foundation will have a new project, vocational training in construction, and I want you to lead it, Frank." "Mr. William, It's not charity. It's recognition. You have the technical knowledge and, more importantly, the heart to teach. What do you say?" Frank looked around. Jennifer smiled encouragingly. Nancy nodded eagerly. Ethan jumped with joy, and the children at the foundation watched with hope. "I accept, but on one condition." "What?" I want to bring my crew, Tony, Sam, Bobby, honest men who know the value of hard work. Done. Bring whoever you want. Ethan ran and hugged Frank. Are you going to teach everyone how to build? I'll teach more than that. I'll teach that work brings dignity, that honesty pays off, and that character is worth more than money. The project began the next month. Young people from the community learned not just a trade, but values. Frank and his team taught with patience and dedication. Sarah, now recovered, sometimes visited and helped by serving snacks to the students. "I'm so proud of you," she'd always say. Ethan was a constant presence. Even though he was too young to officially join, he absorbed everything. "When I grow up, I want to be a construction worker," he announced one day. William, who was observing a class, smiled. Why? Because builders make houses, and houses hold families. And families are the most important thing in the world. It was simple, childlike logic, but deeply true. Time passed, the project grew. Dozens of young people graduated and found honest work. Some even started their own businesses. But the biggest change was in the Thompson family. William drastically cut back on work. He spent afternoons at the foundation, often in overalls, helping with projects. "Never thought I'd say this," he remarked one day, covered in cement. "But I'm happier now than when I closed million-dollar deals." "You've discovered the secret," Frank replied. "As what?" "That real wealth isn't in the bank, it's here." He touched his chest. "And here," he pointed to Ethan, who laughed as Nancy tried to wipe paint off his face. On a special Saturday, everyone had gathered to inaugurate the new wing of the foundation, built entirely by the students of the project. Ethan, now 10 years old, gave an emotional speech. "3 years ago, I fell into a hole. Literally. And Uncle. Frank got me out, but you know what I learned? Sometimes we need to fall to learn how to get back up. And when we do, we can help others up too." The audience applauded. Frank Miller wiped away a discreet tear. After the ceremony, as everyone mingled, Ethan pulled Frank aside. "Uncle, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, champ. Sometimes when I'm sad, I imagine I have 2 dads. One who was born my dad and learned to be one, and another I chose as my heart's dad. You." Frank hugged the boy. "And sometimes I imagine I have 2 sons, one who's in heaven, watching over us all, and another here on earth, teaching me how to live again. So we're a family, the best family possible, united not by blood, but by choice, by love." William approached, 2 juice cups in hand. "Am I interrupting?" "No, Dad. We were talking about family." William handed them the drinks and hugged them both. "The best family I could ever want." Jennifer and Sarah joined them, followed by Nancy and the workers. Soon everyone was embraced in one giant circle. "You know what this reminds me of?" said Tony. "A construction. Each of us is a brick. Alone, we're not much. But together, we build something solid." "And beautiful," added one of the students. "And useful," chimed in another. "And eternal," Frank finished, "because what we build with love lasts forever." At that moment, with the sun setting and painting the sky orange, everyone understood. Life had its dark wells, its moments of falling, but there would always be hands reaching out to help. There would always be hope. Ethan let go of his kite hope, now patched up many times, but still flying. Everyone watched it rise, dance with the wind, touch the clouds. "You know what I learned, Uncle Frank?" Ethan asked. "What?" "That heroes exist. They don't wear capes. They wear hard hats. They don't fly, but they help others soar. They're not rich, but they enrich lives." Frank ruffled the boy's hair. "And you know what I learned?" "What?" "That angels exist. Sometimes they fall into wells, but it's just so we can rescue them and realize they were the ones who rescued us." The celebration went on late into the night. Laughter, music, shared stories, the Hope Gardens community and the Thompson family united by bonds stronger than any social difference. That evening, Sarah and Frank walked home hand in hand. "Happy?" Sarah asked. "Whole," Frank replied. "I lost a son, but I gained an entire family. Mikey would be proud." He is, I'm sure he is. They looked up at the starry sky. Somewhere up there, a star shone brighter. Or maybe it was just their hearts, finally at peace. In the Thompson. Home? Ethan slept hugging his kite, a smile on his face. In the next room, William and Jennifer whispered. "Thank you," Jennifer said. "For what?" "For changing. For trying. For not giving up on us." "I'm the one who's grateful, for giving me a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance. Frank taught me that. Frank taught us a lot. The most important thing, that love isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in presence." They embraced, grateful for the family they almost lost, but managed to rebuild. At the foundation, now empty and dark, the little wooden house stood firm. Inside, forgotten by Ethan, was a notebook. On the first page, written in careful handwriting, "Hope Project by Ethan Thompson and Frank Miller. Goal, to build bridges where others see walls." And on the following pages, drawings, houses, buildings, parks, but mostly people. People holding. Hands, people working together, people smiling. The future being shaped by small hands but giant dreams. 3 months later, on a sunny morning, Frank Miller arrived at the foundation and found a surprise. A new plaque at the entrance. Mikey Miller Professional Training Center. In memory of all the children who left too soon, in hope for all the children we can still save. William Thompson and Ethan were waiting nearby, smiling. "I hope you—" "I don't mind," said William. "It was Ethan's idea, so Mikey can always be with us," the boy added. Frank couldn't speak. He hugged them both, tears flowing freely. Sarah, who arrived right behind him, also cried when she saw the plaque. "Our boy is forever remembered. In every young person who learns a trade here," said Jennifer, joining them, "in every life transformed." The official unveiling of the plaque turned into a celebration. The whole community showed up. Stories about Mikey were shared. Laughter and tears mingling. Mrs. Jenkins made a huge cake. "Mikey loved my cornbread cake. I made it in his honor." Tony brought his guitar. "I remember when he'd asked me to play, he said he wanted to be a musician." "And a construction worker," Frank recalled. "And an astronaut and a teacher. He wanted to be everything." "And he was," said Ethan with childlike wisdom. "He was a son, a friend, a joy. He was love." The music began. People danced. Children ran around the courtyard. Life celebrating life. In the middle of the festivities, a young man approached Frank. It was John, one of the first students in the program. "Mr. Frank, I did it. I passed the test. I'm going to be a construction foreman." "Congratulations, John. I knew you could do it. It's thanks to you, not just for teaching me about construction, but for teaching me about life. I just showed the way. You were the one who walked it. Now I want to give back. Can I help as a volunteer in the classes?" "Of course. You'll be very welcome." And so the cycle continued. Those who received help now helped others. The chain of kindness spreading. Ethan tugged at Frank's sleeve. "Uncle, come see." He led him to the little wooden house, now decorated by the children. Drawings and messages covered the walls. "Look what I wrote," Ethan pointed. "Inside here all the dreams in the world fit." "Perfect," said Frank. "You know why?" "Why?" "Because you taught me dreams don't have a size, they have wings." William walked over, watching them. "Ethan's right. Before my dreams were small, they only fit in a bank account. Now they're huge. They hold people, smiles, hugs. And kites," added Ethan. "Especially kites," William agreed. The three of them climbed to the foundations. Rooftop. Ethan brought his kites, now a colorful collection. "Which one should we fly today?" asked Frank. "All of them," Ethan replied, and they flew them. The sky filled with colors, as if rainbows had grown wings. People on the street stopped to watch. "It's beautiful," said one woman. "It's hope flying," replied another. And it was. Each kite a story, each string a connection, each flight an overcoming. Nancy appeared on the rooftop. "Ethan, your mom's calling, snack time." "Coming, Uncle Frank, can you hold my kite?" "Always." Ethan ran downstairs. William stayed, watching Frank skillfully handle the kites. "You know what I admire most about you?" William asked. "What?" "Your ability to turn pain into love. You lost a son, but became a father to dozens." The pain doesn't go away, but I've learned it can be a seed. It depends where you plant it, and you planted it in good soil. We all did. You planted change. Jennifer planted opportunity. Ethan planted joy. Nancy planted care. Even those who left planted something. Mikey planted memories that bloom in smiles. The kites danced in the wind, rising higher and higher. Do you think they see us, those who've gone? William asked. I'm sure they do. And they're proud when we do good, when we love, or when we forgive. So your Mikey must be very proud. His father too. After all, the grandson he never got to meet in life came to know him in spirit, and it led you back to your roots. William smiled. Construction worker roots. The best kind of roots, planted in the ground yet reaching for the sky. They fell silent, two fathers united by the experience of nearly losing and then finding again. The end of the story. And so, dear listeners, we've come to the end of this touching journey. Now tell us in the comments, do you believe Ethan and Frank Miller were destined to meet? What lessons would you take from this story into your own life? Leave a like if you also believe true heroes wear hard hats, and subscribe so you don't miss more heartwarming stories.